slideshow presentation. I promise that I will do my best to not make this a very boring presentation. Please feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions. I try to have less text and more images and show you some cool videos. But let's see. Okay. So the agenda for this presentation today is who am I? An overview about Immersal. Then I will talk a little bit about spatial map and visual positioning. Then I will show you some use cases, including some cool videos from
Recording
different
in
verticals.
progress.
Should I start it again, Andy? I can start it again if it would be better. Okay. So for this presentation, here is the agenda. So initially, I will talk a little bit about me, so you can have an idea about who am I. Then a little bit about Immersal. Then I will go over spatial maps and visual positioning, show you some real use case. Everything that I will show to you today has already been built by someone using Immersal tech. So it's not something that it's a proof of concept. It's not something that it's just like, how can I say, VFX or something related to that. So everything is real and has already been built by someone. Then I'll share a couple of tips about creating a good map, because that's the key to have a good experience. And then we will go over the SDK overview and some takeaways for this. Okay. Then let's start. So this is me. I just changed my haircut today, so this is why I'm slightly different. I am the head of developers community here at Immersal. I've been with Immersal for over 1 year now. I am responsible for helping the developers to build some integrations and applications using Immersal VPS, helping them with the mapping technique and everything else. I am also the president chapter for the Vrara chapter in Finland, basically talking about VR and AR with tons of people and organizations here. I am originally from Brazil. I lived 5 years in Ireland in that cold weather, lots of rain, then 2 years in the marvelous Italy. And then after that, I decided that it would be a good time to move to Finland. So I've been in Finland now for maybe almost 10 months. We're still trying to get a little bit used to the weather and the culture and everything, but so far it's okay. Let's wait to see my first winter here. I do have over 12 years of experience with product support, product success, customer support, and customer success. So I know just a little bit about how to help people and be in your shoes, basically imagine what you would need to understand to be able to build something. I am fluent in 3 languages. Portuguese is my mother language, my mother tongue. Then I also speak English and Italian. I'm still trying to learn Finnish. Maybe in 10 years I can learn a little bit and be intermediate level. It's quite a difficult language. Okay, that's me. Any questions that you have about me? Anything that you would like to know?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Great. So now let's just go over Immersal overview. So basically, Immersal is a Finnish company. We are still a small startup. We were founded in 2015 and acquired by Hackathon in 2021. What we offer is tools to be able to create spatial mapping and visual positioning systems. So what happens is with the spatial map and the visual positioning system, we allow you developers to combine the digital and the physical world. So then you can create augmented reality experience, because we offer you precise device localization, basically. We have been testing that for many years now. We do use AI and machine learning to basically create some spatial anchors, so you can anchor any virtual digital objects or models based on something that you have in the physical world. Just as a curiosity for you guys to know, even though lots of people would imagine Immersal as being an AR company, and that's how many people would basically understand about Immersal, VPS can also be used to create non-AR use cases, for example, 2D navigation and asset tracking. that's just as a curiosity. It's not for this hackathon, just to let you know. Any questions about Immersal? Okay. Then let's move on. So our technology is based on two things. It's the spatial mapping and the visual positioning. They are two different things and they connect together. The spatial mapping, you can imagine that as a way that you can create a map of any environment that a machine can understand, because it's not the same as just taking a map that we can use and make the machine understand that in 3D, basically. So that's what the spatial map is. Then the visual positioning is we will use that spatial map that we created before to be able to localize any device within that map. So let's say, for example, we have a shopping mall. That's a huge facility. So we will do initially the spatial map of that place. So we can do the map with many devices. We could use from a phone if it's a small location, up to BLK to go 360 camera, and some other more advanced devices. Let's say BLK Arc, that's basically a Boston Dynamics robot with a Leica device on top of that to do the mapping. That would be for industrial cases, for example, maybe some massive power plants or oil and gas refineries or something like that, just to give you a little bit of understanding how complex that can be. And then once you have that map, you can localize basically any device with a camera, as long as you have access to the camera feed. Right now, we don't have yet support for the AVP. That's something that it's coming. We got the license. Now we are working to provide support for AVP soon. And I believe that right now, MetaQuest also doesn't allow access to the camera feed. So that would maybe come in the next couple of months. So we also cannot support it at the moment. But other than that, we support Androids, we support iOSs and most AR glasses like Rocket, X-Real, HoloLens, Magic Leap. Those are just some examples. We also have a REST API that would allow you to create support for any other device that has access to the camera. As a curiosity for you, we did try to localize using a Raspberry Pi with a camera. And even though that it was a very small camera and cheap camera, it was actually able to localize quite well. So it doesn't matter about the camera when you're localizing. It's more about having a good map. Any questions here about Immersal technology? No? Okay. So then here I just collected a couple of pictures about where VPS can be used. So some are crazy that I didn't even know up to a couple of months ago, but some key use cases here. So there is navigation, indoor and outdoor navigation. Then there is education, gaming experience with augmented reality. You can use augmented reality in industrial use cases. So you can combine maybe some kind of wayfinding together with IoT overlaid information. Then you could have maybe remote assistance or something for industrial. For media and entertainment, I will show you a video quite soon about something nice that we have done with Web AR as well, to have some kind of tweets flying. So it's quite interesting. But what I want to show you here is that you can use that for robotics, you can use that even in mining. Mining was mind-blowing, in my opinion, that we just discovered a couple of months ago. But the idea here is just to let you know that basically if you can imagine something and you can build it basically with VPS, because VPS will allow you to make sure that the device that the content that you add inside that map, it will stay anchored in the exact position that you added. So we have an accuracy of 2 centimeters indoors and 15 centimeters outdoors. So it's quite precise. So here are the links to some cool videos, because I will share this presentation with you. So let's just move here to, not this one, let me move this away here. So this is just our YouTube channel. We have just 137 videos, so I try to find some of the ones that are more interesting. So this first one here, it's about entertainment and education, just to give you an idea about what we built here. There's no sound. I don't know if you would be able to hear the sound, but it's basically just some background music. So you were just basically feeding the mascot to see the bigger one to win. So. I really like this museum case because I love dinosaurs. So imagine that you can feed a T-Rex. Yeah, this was the first one. Do you like this video? Okay, I saw someone just doing this, so good. Actually, I forgot to ask you guys in the beginning. Have anyone here heard about Immersal before? Is Immersal familiar to anyone? Or no? Okay, I saw a couple of hands. I would say maybe 2 or 3 people. Is that right? Andy, if you could just be my eyes and tell me if that's right or... Okay. Then let's move on here. This is a bit older video, but still it was done, I believe, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, but it's something that can also be done today. So this is basically a laser tag application with multiple users across different devices as well. So you could play laser tag with your friends. This is another one. This one was in Japan, so a little bit futuristic. So you can see some contents on top of this building, then some flying cars, some other things. And you can see that the content stays anchored exactly where people added it. Yes. Then let's go to the next one. Oh, this one is also interesting. It's about a museum guided tour. You have all the information. I don't speak Japanese. I don't know if someone here speaks Japanese. Maybe you could understand this, but it's basically some information about the art and the artist and something. So you can create some immersive experience for that. So you can have additional information, and then what you can add on top of that, it's up to you. I have no idea about all those characters. what do they do, but it's nice to see them kind of coming to life. So, because you can also have some animations on top of that. So you could have, for example, if it's an art, you could just have that art interacting. So you could say that Mona Lisa is waving or something like that. So this is the one that I mentioned about the flying Twitters. So this is exactly what the users were seeing on their phones. So this is an actually capture from the user experience. This is the screen recording from the phone. So the users would be able to see all their messages in real time, going over to this main message to the band on the stage, basically. It's in real time. And that can be created using the REST API. I think it was quite cool. And just as a curiosity, that event had over 70,000 people and 20,000 people did use the technology. And at a time, there was 70,000 people using the technology at the same time, sending the message. So 7,000 messages being sent at the same time. I won't play the whole video. It's just over 2 minutes. I just wanted to show you a little bit of the idea. And I don't know if anyone here has been to Spain, to Valencia. Have you been to Valencia? To Valencia? No? So this is something that you could have. So you could have some information about the trains or the trams or something, real time, where they go, where do they come from. You can also combine that with wayfinding to find exact tracks. Then you can have some marketing activation, so you can have information about place to eat, maybe a coupon discount or something. So you can have some people dancing there, inviting people to go to the museum and check it out. Some information about the city. So that's something that can be done. I know the quality of most videos, they are not the best, but I decided to use them because they are real case videos. So I would rather show you something that it's not the best quality recording and editing, and then you can see that it's completely real rather than show you something that has been edited and modified. And this here is because we have lots of customers in Asia, so they use Bilibili. I couldn't find this version of the video on YouTube. This is why I'm showing this to you here. This was an app that was built together with Next and T-Mobile. This was for the Major League Baseball in the US last year. The user were able to see the tracking of the ball and then all the information that was also together with REST API. So we provided the piece of the technology that would make sure that the content would stay in that exactly place. And then all the tracking and everything else was done through REST API. This is the screen recording from one of the user phones, basically, which I think it's quite nice. Then this next one, I would say that some of you might already know this location and would be able to recognize this. Then you can see lots of AR stuff in the Times Square, basically. And these are just some of the examples. I could go over another 100 videos here showing you some different things, especially on industrial and these kind of things. But I don't believe that would be the goal for you guys at this hackathon. So I just wanted to show you something so you can get some inspirations. Do you have something already in mind that you would like to do? Okay. So let's go back to the presentation here. Then I will then start with some tips for mapping, because like I explained in the beginning, mapping is the basics to have a good experience, because if you have a really nice map, then you will have a really nice AR experience. So some tips. First, you need to decide what to map. So you need to have already in mind what kind of experience that you would like to create, in which place, so you know exactly what you would need to map. Then you would need to plan your route, because if it's a large space, let's say, for example, you would like to create some kind of a wayfinding and then add some kind of AI on top of that avatar. That's also something that's possible. Some of our partners have already done that as well. Then you need to make sure that you plan your route, so you will cover all the areas that you need to map, so you don't forget anything. Then avoiding taking pictures at just one place, because lots of people, when they start doing the map, they would just basically move the phones and the hand and just like take pictures like here. But what you actually need to do with Immersal, you need to walk around and take pictures from different angles and from different distances. So you should take maybe 2 or 3 pictures, take 2, 3 steps, 2, 3 pictures, and so on, so on. Always bear in mind when you're taking the pictures that you should always take pictures including the way that the user will have in the experience. So if they, let's say, for example, that you will do mapping a statue, then you should take, imagine, okay, where will the user stand to be able to experience that? Because I want to have something on top of the statue or in front of the statue or something like that. Then you just need to make sure about the distance as well. Will the user be too close to the statue? Would they be a little bit farther away? Where would they be when they are experiencing that? So just keep that in mind so you don't forget to cover those areas quite well. Then just some information about mapping, what could affect the map, what lighting conditions would affect the map, very strong shadows, if you map during the day or if you map during the night. What I would recommend you is to map ideally in the same time that you would have the experience. So let's say, for example, you will have the experience showing up in the day, then you do the map in the day. If it's outside, of course. If it's inside, it doesn't matter. But if it's outside, just make sure that if you're doing the experience during the day, map during the day, not during the night, because there would be some slightly difference. Here is just another picture about showing you how the seasons and the weather could also affect that. But that's just more of curiosity. And if you would like to do a bigger mapping in the future for something different, that would need to run all year round, basically. Then what you should avoid when you are doing the maps. You should avoid reflections, you should avoid repetitive patterns and dynamic objects. For example, cars, trees that would basically lose their leaves, so it's not a good idea. If it's just for a small hackathon like this one, just for the weekend, it's fine. What I added here, it would be for the whole year, for example, because then the trees would lose the leaves and then they would change completely in a matter of a couple of months. But ideally, chairs and peoples and anything that would move, you should avoid mapping that. Always try to map the place as close as possible to what it would be during the experience. So if there, let's say, for example, if you're just mapping an office, and then there are lots of chairs around that office. But during the day that you will do the presentation, that you will show the AR experience, then those chairs won't be there. So just take them away when you are mapping, or if there would be something different, just make sure that you try to map as close as possible. It doesn't need to be 100% exactly, but let's say 70% similar to what you were mapping should be ideal to have the experience. So that's something. And the key about repetitive patterns and reflections, it's just because it's really complicated at the moment for the machine to be able to understand that's a reflection, and for the repetitive patterns, it can't really understand where exactly it is because there is not enough unique features to be able to localize. Just skip a little bit. Here are a couple of main tips. Don't take pictures too close from the object. Like I mentioned, always keep in mind where the user would be experiencing that. Then create some kind of a parallax. So you should have the distance between the viewpoints, then what's needed to create some kind of a 3D position. So you need to have enough parallax to be able to create a good map. I'll show you another picture in a moment that will explain. And this other image here, it's just about the route, for example, just to make sure that you cover all the areas. Then, good features that you would look for in a map, or areas where you have unique point of interest. So that we would call it as features. So as long as you have something that is unique to that place, that the AI can understand, okay, this is unique, we can use that as a reference when we are trying to localize. We suggest you to have at least 3 viewpoints to capture a feature, because let's say, for example, you were mapping this kind of a couch, then if you were just mapping from 2 different angles, then you don't have that third one, so you don't have enough to be able to create that 3D view of that object. This is why you would need multiple pictures, at least 3 of them. Then overlapping. So the key here is that you always need to have something when you are taking the pictures that are connecting to the previous picture that you were taking. So for example, here you can see that the first picture is going over here, and then the second picture is taking 1/3 of the previous image, and then this one is taking 1/3 of the previous one, and so on, so on. Here is an example, and this is an example to not do. So you can see here that you can see the same statue. So there is at least 1/3 of the image here. Same here. So you can see this porch of the building here, and then it moved away. But from these two, you can see that there is nothing overlapping. So it's really hard for the system to be able to connect this. So this is something that should be avoided. While the rest here is okay, and you should get some kind of image error message that it cannot be connected to the previous picture, basically. But the rest here, you can see that there is always some connection, some overlapping between the images here. Then a couple of tips about how to map specific places. What I had in mind for the hackathon would be you would probably either map a hotspot or a venue. So I will cover both of them. I won't cover all the rest of them. We do have the documentation if you decide to do something different. But I would say for the hackathon, you would very likely create something using either the hotspot or the venue. So what's a hotspot to start with? A hotspot is a small area where the user is around the map. So you are mapping something that it's in the middle, it's in the center. It's something that the user is from outside seeing that. So examples of hotspot, a statue, for example, a facade of a store, exhibition booths, or a stage. So those are some of the examples of hotspots. Then to map a hotspot, let's say if it's a statue, so you have the area of the interest here. Oh, I should actually go to the slideshow. Sorry, my bad. So here we have the area of interest. So you have the statue here. So what you would do, you would map around the statue. So this is the camera. So this is the user holding the camera, and this is what the camera can see, basically. So the camera is pointing towards the statue here. So you would create some circles around the statue in a way that you were covering all the angles. And then let's say, for example, you want something in front of the statue exactly because that's where the user would be having the experience. Then you can take more pictures and map a little bit closer to that and with different angles as well. So this would be the ideal way to map around the statue. You can map it from different distances as well. So let's say you map a little bit closer to the statue. You don't need to be too close, but a little bit closer, as long as that's where the user would be having the experience, and then a little bit further away just to have some more information, more context for that. Let's say, for example, you were mapping a stage or the facade of a building or a store or something. Then you would need to create those small arcs. So the arcs that you would have from different distance as well. So then you would do a small arc here, then another small arc here, then another one here, and another one here. You can see that there is still overlapping in all the images here because they are always pointing towards something, and then you can see that they also get something from the previous image, basically. So those are the arcs. And then you would map it also a little bit from distance and get some other overviews because the user experience would be more closer to the stage or to the facade or something. Then you would take more pictures here. And then if you would like the users to be a little bit more distant, you can also take more pictures here and so on and so on. So that's the key about mapping a hotspot. Any questions here about how to map a hotspot? Because this is the key for you to create a really nice experience. No questions? Okay. Then let's move on. Now, mapping a venue. So what would be a venue? A venue is an area where the user is in the center of the mapped area, basically. So the user is surrounded by the AR experience, let's say this. So they are in the middle of the map. So let's say, for example, some indoor spaces like offices, art galleries, museums, shopping malls, or something like that. So the user is in the middle of the map. They will experience that, but looking around them. So it's not the opposite, where the experience is in the middle and then the user is around it. So this is the opposite. Then the mapping is also different. So to map the venue, you should take photos roughly from each position where the user stand and the user will see the experience, basically. Not just in the middle, but from different angles across the room, basically. So you will be on one side of the room, taking the picture, showing the other side of the room. Then you will take some other pictures, always pointing to the opposite side. Then you have enough overlapping and everything is covered in this area. Compared to if you just do this, even though you still have a little bit of overlapping, it's not enough to create a really nice experience. So the key takeaways that I want you to learn about the mapping, it's to consider where the user is viewing the feature from, and then capture similar viewpoints as the end users would see. And here is an important information, because if you go to download the Immersal Mapper, you will see that there are two modes that you can toggle at the top. One, it's the real-time mapping, and one, it's the manual mode. The difference between them is that the real-time mapping, it could be easier because then you would just be able to do a video of the place. Then you can see the point clouds as you were going to map. Like as you were mapping, you can see the point clouds appearing on your phone as you do the recording. But there is a problem with that. That's only if you have no experience at all, because you will only get the point cloud of that. So it's only for a small experience. Let's say, for example, if you're just mapping a statue, that should still be okay. But if you would like to get the texture mesh, because there is also the texture mesh on top of the point cloud that you get with our Immersal mapper, that's only available with the manual mode. And the manual mode means that you need to manually take the pictures. This is why I've been mentioning this whole time about taking pictures from different places. You can try using the real-time mapping. It's way easier, but when you get to the point cloud, it might be a little bit more complicated for you to position the asset exactly where you would like, because you would need to look at the point cloud and try to understand exactly where that would be. With the meshed texture, with the texture mesh, that would be much easier to understand. So I can show you very quickly, go back here, a couple of slides, so you can see the difference. So this is the stadium, for example, then this is what the point cloud would look like, and this is the texture mesh, for example. So then it would be a little bit more complicated for you to place an object here, knowing exactly where it would be if you're not familiar with point cloud, compared to just placing an object when you have the texture mesh similar to this, if it makes sense. But you can still try the manual mode if you would like. Those are the main ones. And now I'll talk a little bit about the Immersal Unity SDK. So the first thing that you need to do, you need to create your free account on the developer portal. So I added the link here, but you can just go to immersal.com, then click here, developer portal, international server, and be able to register from here. Because I already have an account, I will just log into my account. Once you log in, this is what the developer portal would look like. But for most of the documentation, we still use the old developer portal, just the UI is slightly different. This is the old UI, just in case if you would like to change it. So, just log in here. And I like this one better. Here you have the SDK documentation, and here is the link to the Discord support channel. So I would strongly recommend you guys to join our Discord channel. I just want to be clear here and honest that we don't have people offering support during the weekend. I try to find people, but we are a very small team, so it's quite complicated, especially due to the difference in the time zone. So, but I asked the technical team and they said to me they should still join the Discord channel, and then they can search for the questions, because most of the answers for the main questions would be there. And the documentation is also quite good. Then this is the documentation. What I would suggest you to do to start with is going to Unity SDK, and then there is Getting Started tutorial. So this is the place where you should start, because here we have a step-by-step how you can create a new project with Unity. There is the URL to get Immersal package. So there is a step-by-step here. Then creating a simple scene, for example, a sample scene, how to try it out and everything. And inside here, we do have this very short video. It's just 7-minute video, but it's very detailed with each of the steps that you need to follow to create a sample scene experience. So basically, you just would like to add something on top of the statue, for example, or create something in the middle of the living room. That's how you can do it. And this is step by step showing you exactly what to do. This is the place that I would suggest you to start with. Then, if you are already familiar with Unity and would like to do something a little bit more complex, you can play around and do something different. We do have a couple of themes here. So we have multi-map sample, we have navigation sample, we have both with the graph-based and the nav mesh, then the content placement sample and map download sample, basically. So we have everything here. So that's what I would recommend you guys to do. And this is our Discord channel. So you can feel free to search here for everything. You can still ask questions here, but I can't promise that we will be able to answer them on time for you, but we will do keep an eye on the questions here if there come some, but I can't really guarantee that we would be able to reply to you in a timely manner. So I just want to be honest here about that. Sorry for that. But it should still be quite okay. We have done a couple of, not exactly hackathons properly, but a couple of projects with people in different time zones and countries, and they were able to do something only using the documentation and searching for the main questions on Discord, especially because the questions, most of the questions that people have when they start using Immersal is not really related to the Immersal tech, but it's more related to Unity. For example, how you can make something, how you can create walls for the navigation, because the navigation, it's basically going through the wall. So what you would need to do in that case, for example, it's very simple. You would need to create a wall in Unity and make sure that the opacity for that wall, so you have that as, it's not opacity, it's, I forgot the name of the word now, but you need to create that kind of element there in a way that you have the occlusion for that wall. That's the word that I was looking for. Sorry, my brain, it's not the best, 1 a.m., but yes. That's basically it. So most of the questions, they're related to Unity instead of Immersal. So this is why I did ask Andy if he would have some support from the teachers and the professors and someone else on site about Unity, because most of the questions would be about that. Other than that, the rest should be covered in the documentation. If not, they should be covered in the Discord channel. Even on Discord, some of the questions, most of the questions that we get, even on Discord, they are still related to Unity. And just remember to use the Immersal SDK 2.0, because if you go to our documentation here, go to Immersal SDK, you will be able to see that we have this 2.0 beta, and we also have a previous one. It was 1.9 something, even though we still have this label beta, and it seems that this is not reliable, this is not stable. I can assure you that it is. It's just that we are aligning internally to be able to remove that label once we have something also changing in the backend. So we would make sure that everything will be in the same version. But for now, we are still keeping the word as beta, but it's being stable. We have been working with this for over 6 months now, if I recall correctly. So you should use the 2.0. And the best place to find the URL is inside the Getting Started tutorial, but just in case, I also add the URL here, just to make it easier for everyone. So we do have a lot of helpful tutorials, video tutorials inside the Getting Started tutorial here, and the documentation as well, even about how to map. There is this Immersal Mapper 2.0. This is the newest one that you have. Then we have some tips here. We do mention about on-device, on-server localization, but you don't need to worry about that. I would say that you would probably do on server localization. This is the video about creating a manual map. This is just an example about how you'll take pictures. You remember those pictures that I showed in the slides about the overlapping and everything? Here you can see how many pictures you are taking. So as you move 1-2 steps, you are taking pictures from different angles. Go to one side and then go to another side. It's a very small, and you can see as you take the pictures, you can see those frustrums here. So you have an idea where your vet took the pictures and the angles and the distance. So this also helps you when you're creating the map. You can see that in real time on the app. You can see the different angle now that he's taking the pictures slightly further away, and the angle is slightly different as well. I won't play the whole video. I don't want to waste a lot of time on this. This is what the real-time mode would look like. We do have a video of the real-time mode just to show you the difference between that during mapping. So when you start doing the mapping, it's basically a video like I mentioned, and it will take the pictures automatically for you. And then you can see all those point clouds as you were mapping. So you can see those features. So you still get the point cloud with this map, just not the texture. So if it's something that it's quite unique, like a statue or something, you should still be okay to use this if you would like. But I would recommend the manual mode. You can do this with the real time, so you can also see the frustrums for the camera, so you can see where the pictures were taken, just to understand a little bit more about how to do a good map, for example. Yes. Then I think that's basically it that I have for now. Do you have any questions for me?
May, is this slideshow going to be shared in the Discord?
Sorry?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Is this slideshow going to be shared in the Discord?
Yeah, I will share it right now on Discord for you guys. What would be the best place to share this? Would it be under questions, or do you have any specific channel here that I should use?
Go ahead and just send it to me when you get a chance, and then I'll put it in announcements.
Sure, perfect. I'll send that to you now. I'll just download a PDF presentation for this one. So all the links should work. One important thing is that to be able to have a really nice experience, I don't want you guys to use just the free account. I would like to upgrade your account to the enterprise account. So I would upgrade the images to 2,500 images. So please just go to the website now, sign up and create your developer account, and just send me a message on Discord with your email and the developer ID. So you basically can see the developer ID at the top here. So you can see the email and the developer ID. So then I can upgrade your account. The deadline is at 7 p.m. today. It's just like in half an hour, 40 minutes. It's just so I can make sure that I will upgrade all your accounts before I go to bed, because I believe I still deserve a little bit of rest today.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to May for staying up so late to show this to us. And Immersal would be a perfect tool for our AR track. So if you're interested in augmented reality at all, Immersal is just a great tool to say go outside, scan a couple of landmarks, and then essentially build experiences with that. So yeah.
Thank you very much for having me, Andy.
Yes. Yep. And of course, if anyone's interested in getting the enterprise account, just either ping me or ping May in the Discord, sign up for an account, and we'll make sure to get that done for you.
Yes. Please ping me directly because then I can upgrade it immediately. So you don't need to ping Andy and then Andy can send that to me. You can just ping me directly on Discord.
Yep. Okay, sounds good. And yeah, any questions?
Questions?
Yep.
Yes, I can see someone with a raised hand.
So it's okay if you don't know, but my question is, are you able to build spatial maps using the, oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so my question is, are you able to use the REST API to build the spatial maps from a different program? Say if you're making like your own app, could you take images through your own app and send it through the API to get back the spatial map?
Not to create the spatial map, you would still need to use either the Immersal mapper, or you could also use a 360 camera or a BLK device, but that would go through a different kind of a pipeline and it would take longer to process the map and everything. We do have in the advanced under the documentation if that's a route that you would like to go, but I wouldn't recommend if you are not familiar with that actually.
Okay.
But not to create the map exactly. So to create the map, you would need to use either your phone, 360 camera, or a BLK device. And also Polycam, that's also another option, but also needs to go through a different pipeline, a little bit more advanced, but it can be done.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I believe I did see someone else with raised hands.
I have a question. I'm just curious. So in that iOS real-time demo that you showed, I know the newer iPhones have like LiDAR and depth scanners. Is that what being used there? Or are you doing something else?
Yes, we also leverage that.
Okay, you do. Yeah, I was curious
Make
about
it
that.
easier. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well,
any more questions?
I think we're good. Thank you so much for joining us today and for showing us what Immersal is. Yeah. Well,
So guys, good luck.
thank you. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye. Have a good day.